Okay, boys, let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs and the best prospects to target in this upcoming draft. Um, I'm gonna go through a recent Bleacher Report mock draft. I'm gonna go through probably like the top 15, maybe top 20 prospects. I'm gonna let you know if I think the Spurs should have them on their radar, if the Spurs should steer clear, and obviously if they have a realistic chance of getting him or not. So these are the best prospects I think the Spurs should be targeting in this upcoming draft. With the mock, I mean not with the mock, with the lottery, the draft lottery happening this Monday, the Spurs will better know who to look for when they're drafting because they'll know their position. But without further rambling along, let's go through the list. So obviously, I think a great fit for the Spurs would be Cooper Flag. Is it likely we're going to get him? No. But Cooper Flag is great defender, was a surprisingly better three-point shooter in college than people thought. He's a good playmaker, a decent playmaker. He can dribble, he can score. He's just a really good, solid all-around prospect. Do I think he'll be a true number one day on a championship team? No. I think he'll be a good number two or a superb number three. And I think he would obviously fit with the Spurs. Spurs need a wing. I wouldn't say Cooper Flag's necessarily a wing. He's kind of a four, but if you had a lineup of him and like Sohan would play the four offensively anyway. And Cooper Flag would play the three. So I think Cooper Flag's a great fit. Obviously, it's a low chance, but if he's there, the Spurs get a number one pick, no doubt they'll go for Cooper Flag. Dylan Harper is someone I think the Spurs should steer clear of, unless there's a weird chance where it's like you get the number two pick and it's like, okay, you kind of have to draft him. But even at that, I would rather them trade it because we don't need another guard on this team with De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle and guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Malachi Branham, and Blake Wesley even. So I just don't think Dylan Harper is someone the Spurs should go after. VJ Edgecombe was another guy I don't think the Spurs should go after, personally. I think he's a decent prospect, but not the best shooter, great defender, but another guard that we really just don't need. He can play the small forward on a small team, on a small lineup, but that's just someone I don't think they should go after. Ace Bailey is an interesting one. Ace Bailey is a wild card for me. I think he has a high ceiling, obviously, but he has a pretty low floor also. And with a guy like Ace Bailey, he's not a great three-point shooter. His shot selection is poor sometimes, a lot of times. I just don't know how he'd fit with this team. Obviously, a long, rangy 6'10 guard, a wing, would be fun to have on this Spurs team. But would he take away shots from too many people? I don't know. Like I said, he's a wild card. I wouldn't be upset if they got him, but more than likely we're not going to get him anyway. Jeremiah Fears, I've seen surprisingly a couple of mock drafts having the Spurs take Jeremiah Fears in the top 10, and I'm just like, no, we don't need another point guard. Again, and he's not even a great shooter, and that's what we need on this team. So no for Jeremiah Fears. Trey Johnson, I would say yes. You could put him at the three. He'd be maybe a little undersized at 6'6", but I think he'd be just fine. He can shoot the three, and he's a good athletic scorer. He can play decent defense. I think Trey Johnson is a good fit for this team. Kaman Malawach is another one that I think is a good fit. We're probably looking for a backup center in this draft, I would assume. So Kaman Malawach would be someone who defensive monster. So you wouldn't have that big drop-off in defensive rating like the Spurs did last year when Wembanyama's not on the floor. You would have Kaman Malawach there to protect the paint. No really offensive skill set except being a good lob threat, which I think is cool because, him and Wemby have that in common. So I think he'd be a good fit for the Spurs. Derek Quinn would be another one I think would be a good fit. I've even seen some weird, super tall lineups where they have the Spurs drafting Derek Quinn and playing him and Wemby next together in the starting rotation. That would definitely be interesting. Very good offensive game. Will it translate? I don't know. But again, he could be definitely a very good backup center for the Spurs. Kan Kunepel is probably my favorite fit for the Spurs. He can shoot the three. He's a good connector on offense, which means he can secondary ball hand. He can make the right reads. He's a smart player. He's not going to make dumb mistakes, it looks like. And he's no slouch on defense either. He's decently sized at 6'6". I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Spurs. I'm hoping the Spurs get him, pending on the fact that we get the 8th or like 9th pick. Someone like Asa Newell, I think he's a decent pick. There's other guys I would prefer the Spurs to get, but he could be a good backup center for sure. Jace Richardson, no, I would stay clear from him. We just don't need another guard. Noah Essengu, I would say no. More of just his rawness, I don't think the Spurs really need right now. I would say no to him. He plays more power forward anyway. Colin Murray Boyles, same thing. I wouldn't be totally upset if the Spurs drafted him, but depending on who they passed up, I might be. He's another 4, and it's like we don't necessarily need that. And I know Cooper Flag's technically a 4, but again, he can play like a 3 on offense. Kaspers Jack Cooch, and I don't even know how to say his last name. The Kaspers dude from Illinois. He's another wild card for me. He is a point guard / a shooting guard. So again, we don't need guards, but he's a big guard, 6'6", 200 pounds. Very much, people kind of comparing to Luka Doncic. I don't think he'll ever be that, but I see where they say that because his game somewhat resembles him in certain ways. Like I said, he's another wild card. I would probably steer towards no for the Spurs to get him, just because, again, we don't need more guards. Someone like Nick Clifford, possibly. He is someone that's gone kind of under my radar until recently, but I think he would be decent. Carter Bryant, I would say no. Too much of a raw prospect on the offensive end when we're really looking for someone who can shoot the 3 at the 3 for the Spurs. Igor Demon is another player the Spurs should stay clear of, for me personally. And Ben Seraph, I would say stay clear of him too. We don't need another guard. Liam McNeely, I would say yes. I think he'd be a good fit for the Spurs. And he's good size, 6'7". His thing coming out of high school was he would be a great three-point shooter. He did not display that at UConn. His three-point percentage is pretty low. It's like at 32%. But apparently NBA scouts and executives don't worry about him getting back on track. And basically NBA teams are still seeing him as a three-point shooter at the NBA level. So I'm just going to trust the NBA scouts and executives and say that he'll be fine with the Spurs. Another really underrated guy the Spurs should get, I think, is Thomas Sorber, the center from Georgetown. Great defensive center who can get you rebounds, and a lot of people compare him to Onyeka Okongwu from the Atlanta Hawks. I think that's a perfect fit for the Spurs. Someone who's going to get you a lot of rebounds, which we struggled with last year, and someone who's going to play defense when Wemby's not on the court. I think the Spurs, pending on the fact that they'll get like the 8th, 9th pick and then the 14th pick, they should use the 8th, 9th pick on a 3-and-D prospect, a wing like Konkanepo or Liam McNeely, even someone like Rasheer Fleming. And then with the 14th pick, take Thomas Sorber, who should be there, depending on if Kaman Malawach and guys like Derek Queen aren't there. But I really like Thomas Sorber. I'm really high on him. Let me know down below what you think of him, if you know of him. Danny Wolf, I would say no. Too inconsistent on the offensive end. I just don't think we need another 7-footer who is really offensive-oriented on this team. And other than that, guys like Walter Clayton Jr., I would stay clear of. Just another guard that we don't need. Nothing personal against him. Like I said earlier, Rasheer Fleming would be someone that's very interesting. And the only thing with Rasheer Fleming is that, yes, he shot a good three-point percentage in college for St. Joseph's. He shot it like at 40-something% this year. But his free throw percentage is not good. So, is that a bad sign that his three-point percentage is, and his three-point shooting is like streaky, and that he won't ever be a consistent 3-and-D guy? He'll definitely have the defensive attributes. He's a really good defender, but can he just develop that three-point shot consistently? I don't know. But if he's like the last resort to get a 3-and-D guy, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think he can find a place on the Spurs team. And that's all the prospects I'm really gonna go for. Any guy like in the second round that I think the Spurs should get, Johnny Broom from Auburn. I think he would be a decent backup center. Um, and then there's obviously other prospects in the second round that I think are decent for the Spurs. I wouldn't take another guard personally, unless you end up trading like some of our guards like KJ or Devin or Malachi Branham or Blake Wesley. Then you can get one, just for depth. But again, we have Stephon Castle, we have De'Aaron Fox. We really don't need it, and we kind of have Wemby, who likes to dribble the ball sometimes. So I don't think guard is a priority for the Spurs. But yeah, those are the best prospects are for the Spurs, in my opinion. For the 3 spot, I think guys like Concanepo, Liam McNeely, or Sheer Fleming would be good options. Even something like Trey Johnson would be really good. And then for the 5, the backup 5, I think the Spurs need to address this offseason. I think Thomas Sorward, Derek Queen, Kaman Malawach are really good options. If the Spurs could come out with any combination of those players I just listed, I would be happy. Let me know who you are high on in this draft, who you think the Spurs should draft this draft season. Let me know down below.